there's an essay called "What Is It Like to Be a Bat," and the philosophers saying that it's hard to know what's because it's not like a human being a bat; it's a bat being a bat, and we can never understand that. But I don't think this is like that because we all you might say we're all born into sin, or we all have the capacity for evil, and it's different types and it's different amounts. Sure, it's different for everybody, I guess, but we all have that, and we should be able to imagine that. We can imagine base desires. We can imagine reasons for justifying things. You don't have to teach a baby that. You set two babies together, one has a toy and the other doesn't. The one that doesn't is going to try and take it from him.
You're onto something. It's funny that you mentioned this essay. How does it feel to be a bat? Because like somebody like quoted that me today, like a few days ago, right? Like somebody like it's like one of those like synchronicity, right, kind of thing. Like from something that has nothing to do with roleplay. Like out of the blue, somebody like just showed that at me as a rebuke to something, and I just chuckled a bit. But like it's a whole question of like empathy, and roleplay is linked to that a lot. And people nowadays don't understand what empathy is. People like confuse empathy and sympathy a lot, and that's a cliche that's often said. And people like repeated that because like some fucking douchebag made a video like on YouTube about that with some animation, and people like say, "Oh, sympathy, and empathy, but they fucking miss the point. Empathy is having a theory of mind of the other, right? It's that you need to understand that other people think differently than you and feel different thing than you, right?
Right.
Sympathy is projecting your own feeling into something else, right? When people say like empathy is like oh, how would you feel if you're in that situation? That's not empathy, because that's not you in that situation. That's him in the situation, right? If you're thinking how would I feel in that situation, you're doing sympathy. You're projecting your own feeling into somebody else. Empathy is about like how this person that is not me would feel in that situation, and then you have to dig a little deeper. Oh, he came from this kind of culture, this kind of like. And role play is linked to that a lot. That's what we do when we truly role play, right? The act of role playing is to put yourself, is to think as somebody else and act and make decision as this person in the given scenario, right? That's the clinical definition of role play that date from before role playing game were invented, right?
Since I like the distinction between sympathy and empathy, I feel like, after the show is over, that's the first thing I'm going to forget. So it's good to have it on video, on camera, to talk about this. The big thing about role-playing games, I've had a couple people push back on me when I started like probing this as a topic, especially in my previous video. For when you role-play a character, it's not about, oh, how would I react to this? It's, no, how does my character react? And we are not the same. So I'm aware we are not the same because, of course, I'm sitting at the table rolling dice. But also, I'm really trying to imagine, how does my dwarf monk react to what's happening? We had a fight going on outside. And the fight concluded. And after the fight concluded, my dwarf decided, no, I'm going back inside and get the money from the Baroness. Because we were about to get paid, but things went awry. And I'm thinking my dwarf's priority list is finish the job. Anything after that is open on the table. We might help more. I might be open to goodwill. But first, I finish the business. And that was me trying, not to thinking, oh, what would I do? But what would my dwarf do? And roleplay that.
And you're right on that, and sometimes you're gonna play characters that are closer to you, right? And that's the thing, the difference between empathy and sympathy, right? Oftentimes, like people think that empathy is the quality. Like people say, oh, women are much more empathic. Women are not empathic. Women don't have empathy. For I'm gonna explain you why.
That's a hot take.
I'm gonna tell you why soon, right? It's because people people think that empathy is the trait that you need to keep peace inside the tribe, but that's what sympathy is for. Empathy is the trait for war. is to understand your enemy. Like Sun Tzu was saying, like know
Right.
yourself and know your enemy. You're never gonna be defeated, right? That's empathy in action, basically. Like you need to know how your enemy think. That's what empathy is for. When you're inside your in-group with people that share your value, share your culture, share most of your lived experience, sympathy is good enough. It's good enough as a substitute, and that's what women have more, right? That's why women like always put themselves and protect their own. And when they deal with the odd group, it's a disaster because they think like, oh, imagine if you had this poor immigrant coming here, like, and you just want a warm place and then they
Right.
let them in, and then they get fucking raped, right? It's like
Oh,
that it doesn't work. So
yeah.
that's
So the sympathy
but
being you watch the movie of the love story and they finally find each other and give the kiss and the woman is tearing up because she puts herself into that scene and it's like how would I feel? Yeah, she would tear up. But empathy being more like, oh, that's very emotional. I understand what makes her go through those feelings without tearing up yourself. Would that be like a good depiction of the difference?
because since you don't project your own feeling, right? It's much more analytical in a sense, right? Like you need to have it's like which the theory of the mind. But like I said, when you role play, it's fair, it's fine
Yeah.
to role play a character that's close to you, and then you can project your own feeling in this character. And some people are gonna do that, and but I think like you're shortchanging yourself. You can do more. And people think about those pillar of role play, right? And they always like one of those pillars is exploration. And I think if you see exploration in role playing as, oh, we visit those land and we're going to those next X over and next crawl, and then we discover you're missing out. The interesting exploration that you can do in role playing game is exploration of the mind of somebody else. This character it's a character that you made up, but you think like, what if I was to make this character that's different than me? And try to live and think as him for a while, and then like you put in different situation and see how it react. That's an exploration that is worthwhile. That's the exploration you should do in role playing game because that's what role play lead you to. But I think like role playing people that are not you, like some people say like, oh, you can only role play like somebody that is kind of closer to yourself, like a portrait of your soul. I think that's bullshit. I think that's hogwash, right? Like
I was about to
you can't.
mention the portrait of your soul since it's in the back of my mind from your Off the Rails roleplay show. I think it was brought up there, maybe not.
Yeah. They made like Phil and Arch made a show about it. I wasn't in there, but like I
Right.
think in a sense I'd say like if you play a character that is like an aspect of yourself, you're not fully role playing because you're not playing somebody else. You're not thinking as somebody else.
So it says a key feature of role playing is what you're saying. The key feature is don't try to be yourself. Try to embody somebody else.
Yeah.
I would say, I would admit that no matter what character I play, there probably is this tiny ounce of me in it. Sure.
We're human, right?
But
And we're living being. We're biological beings. So there's always
Yeah.
gonna be like some common ground and stuff, right?
yes, there's a little bit, but the fact that I'm able to make that into a little bit, you know, I'm able to imagine things, dream dreams, put myself in another person's shoes. Like you said, that's the benefit of role playing is exploring something different than myself.
I think what we're all getting at anyway is this idea that it's possible to portray evil however you define it, as Max points out, but it's possible to portray antisocial or evil characters because we're not portraying necessarily ourselves. We're coming from the standpoint and the frame of mind of that character rather than coming from our own frame of mind, which
Yep.
I would assume would be quite different.
Yes,
Yeah.
and in the question, like, is not always asking, like, oh, the danger, are you training yourself to be a psychopath? And I say, like, well, if whatever.